But because we have seen that in him, now it sticks that we have these reports of him calling U.S. service members losers and suckers and him being repulsed by the sight of them, right? It fits with what we have seen. It's also causing unimaginable pain for some of our fellow Americans who have had way too much pain already.
My stepson was not a loser.
My son is not a loser.
My son, Matthew, is not a loser.
My stepson was not a sucker. Lance Corporal Alexander Scott Arredondo died in Najaf, Iraq in 2004.
My son, Sergeant James Anthony Ayub II, gave his life in Kandahar, Afghanistan in 2010.
Mi hijo, Jesús Alberto Suárez del Solar, y murió en la guerra de Irak.
Honorably serving his country.
That is something Donald Trump will never know.
That's something that Donald Trump will never understand.
My message to Donald Trump is this: you have no right being a commander-in-chief.
Usted no conoce lo que es el sacrificio.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Eaton. I'm a retired Major General, United States Army, and I just read Jeff Goldberg's article in The Atlantic. I'm pretty unhappy with you, Mr. Trump, so I'm going to keep this short for your famous short attention span. You have shown disrespect to the military on countless occasions. I'm stunned that anybody in the United States military would consider you anything but a loser or a sucker. You're no patriot. Let me tell you about a patriot. My father was killed in Vietnam. He was shot down over a Ho Chi Minh Trail section just outside of Vietnam and Laos. He delivered ordnance to cut the trail and cut supplies. And then he delivered close air support to Special Forces troops on the ground. And his airplane blew up. He went down in 1969, 13 January 1969. This dog tag was recovered at the crash site. My father was a patriot, well-educated. He was a wise man. The best men and women in the United States of America are found in the armed forces of the United States military. Mr. Trump, come 3 November, we're all voting for a real patriot, Joe Biden. And everybody who hears this, please take notice and please vote. Vote Democratic. Our country's honor depends on it. Thank you.
Quite frankly, if what is written in The Atlantic is true, it's disgusting. And it affirms what most of us believe to be true, that Donald Trump is not fit to be the job of president, to be the commander-in-chief. The president reportedly said, and I emphasize reportedly said, that those who sign up to serve instead of doing something more lucrative are suckers. Let me be real clear. When my son was an assistant U.S. attorney and he volunteered to go to Kosovo while the war was going on as a civilian, he wasn't a sucker. When my son volunteered and joined the United States military as the Attorney General and went to Iraq for a year, won the Bronze Star and other commendations, he wasn't a sucker. The servicemen and women he served with, particularly those who did not come home, were not losers. If these statements are true, the president should humbly apologize to every Gold Star mother and father and every Blue Star family that he's denigrated and insulted. Who the heck does he think he is? And if I have the honor of being the next commander-in-chief, I will ensure that our American heroes know I'll have their backs, honor their sacrifice, and those who've been injured will be in military parades. I'm always cautioned not to lose my temper. This may be as close as I've come this campaign. It's just a marker of how deeply President Trump and I disagree. about the role of the President of the United States of America.
This is a real political crisis for the White House and for President Trump tonight. It is also sort of a reckoning for the country in terms of the extremes of Trumpism. We're going to have much more on this coming up tonight, including with General Paul Eaton, who's going to join us live. Stay with us. In August 2012, California Congresswoman Anna Eshoo introduced this bill, which did not make national news. It's not the kind of bill that is designed to. But for some people, it really meant the world. It was a bill to designate the facility of the United States Postal Service, located at 211 Hope Street in Mountain View, California, as the Lieutenant Kenneth M. Ballard Memorial Post Office. The bill passed. It was signed into law by President Obama in 2013. And so now, when residents of lovely Mountain View, California, go to mail a card or a payment or a ballot, it goes through the Lieutenant Kenneth M. Ballard Memorial Post Office. Lieutenant Ballard led an Army platoon in Iraq in 2003 and 2004. On the night of May 30th, 2004, he was killed in Najaf, Iraq. At the time, he was just over a week from leaving Iraq. He was just shy of turning 27. His mother got the call just before 9 a.m. the next morning with the news that her only child wouldn't be coming home. Lieutenant Kenneth Ballard was awarded a Purple Heart and 3 Bronze Stars, 2 with Valor for his heroism. His mother has set up a website to keep the memory of her son and his sacrifice alive. And there's the post office in their town. When the current president calls Americans who've died for their country losers and suckers, however broadly he might mean that, for some individual Americans, like the family of Lieutenant Kenneth Ballard, it lands differently, which is why Lieutenant Ballard's mother chose to respond to the president directly in an ad that was released today by the group VoteVets.
My son is not a loser. My message to Donald Trump is this: you have no right being a commander-in-chief.
Joining us now live is Gold Star mother Karen Meredith. She's the mother of Lieutenant Kenneth Ballard. Ms. Meredith, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know it's a really difficult time.
It is. Good evening, Rachel.
When you first heard these reports a little bit more than 24 hours ago now about what the president has said about American troops, and specifically about troops hurt or killed in battle, what was your reaction? How did that land with you?
Well, I wasn't surprised, because this does seem to be a pattern going back to even before Trump announced running for president. But it's always kind of a pinprick to the heart that it's just trying to pull the scab off. And for me, after 16 years, you'd think I'd be used to it. But those are pretty harsh words coming from my son's commander-in-chief. That he was a sucker and or a loser. And I don't feel that way. And none of the parents who did the video feel that way.
Karen, can I ask you how the video came together? There's been some sort of conspiracy theorizing on the right and with the Trump campaign today, saying that there must have been collusion, there must have been advanced planning with you and other Gold Star families, because that ad was turned around and put out so quickly that you must have known in advance that The Atlantic was going to publish these allegations. Can you speak to that at all?
Sure. Yesterday afternoon, I think it was right after the story was published, I was notified by VoteVets that that this story was going to be pretty big, and so they asked if I could gather our group of Gold Star families that I work with. I've been working with VoteVets for about 5 years, so we're all on standby, ready to support the organization. We're all progressive and support veterans organizations. So some of us worked on it all night last night, and that's why we were able to get it out as quickly as we did. So there was no collusion.
I know that. Sorry to interrupt you there. Karen, I know that you have been willing to speak publicly about your son's death and about the Iraq War, and you've been public in your grief and in your feelings about the cause for which he lost his life for a long time now, which means that you have been willing to talk about your son and this grief through different presidencies. And I just wonder if you, and working with other Gold Star families, if it is a different calculation, or if it is a different sort of balance of risk and potential benefit, that the president really has shown no compunction at all about attacking Gold Star parents, about attacking the family members of people who've died in service to this country, and even attacking those who have died or been wounded themselves. Does it change the way that you and your fellow Gold Star families think about whether or not it's safe to speak out?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, Ken was my only child, so I've already had the worst day of my life. And nobody else can say anything as bad as what happened on May 30th, 2004. I know a lot of the other Gold Star families that I work with feel the same way. Not all Gold Star families work with VoteVets, so I am not speaking for all Gold Star families, just for some. But this presidency is different because he doesn't seem to have a concept of service. For instance, the Bush family, as much as I'm not a fan, at least their family served in politics and they served in the military. And in the Obama administration, he has been serving starting out as a community organizer. So he knows what serving means and sacrificing, because the military can get more pay on the outside, and being in government service, generally you can get paid more too. So I think that's the biggest difference, is that this administration, I'm not sure who in this administration really understands what service and sacrifice means.
Gold Star mother Karen Meredith joining us tonight live from California. Thank you so much for talking to us. I know you have the choice whether or not to do this, but it means a lot to our viewers that you're willing to be here. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. From 2003 to 2004, while Karen's son was serving in Iraq, Major General Paul Eaton served as the commanding general of the Coalition Military Assistance Training Team, which means he was in charge of training Iraqi troops during the Iraq War. General Eaton had followed his father into U.S. military service, and today, we just showed you moments ago in a video directly addressing the president, the now retired Major General Eaton held up his father's ID tag, which was recovered from the site where his plane went down in the Vietnam War. Joining us now is retired Major General Paul Eaton. General, sir, thank you so much for joining us. It's a real honor to have you with us here tonight.
Rachel, my privilege. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I'd just like to say to everybody that Karen Meredith is a personal hero to me and to my wife, PJ. She is a brave, wonderful woman, and I thank her for coming on tonight as well.
Thank you for saying that. Let me start by asking you the same question that I asked her, which is, when you read or learned of the president's remarks that were first published a little bit more than 24 hours ago now, how did it land with you?
Rachel, it took me a couple of minutes to read the article. It took me a nanosecond to be truly angry. I shaved, I got in front of the camera, knocked out a 2-minute 15-second piece to get out on Twitter, and just to make known just how awful the level of disrespect and thought, word, and deed that we get out of this president, and how it detracts from his capacity to serve as a leader anywhere, but certainly as a commander-in-chief. He has no right to be there.
General Eaton, I wanted to ask you specifically about that moment where you held up your father's ID tag and talked about your father being killed in the Vietnam War. I just wondered, now that we have learned more, there's been supporting reporting, both bolstering what Jeffrey Goldberg put in the Atlantic, but also adding to it. And one of the things that was reported in the Washington Post is that, I'll quote from the Post here, the president has told senior advisors he didn't understand why the U.S. government placed such value on finding soldiers missing in action, because they had performed poorly and gotten caught and deserved what they got. I have to ask your reaction to that, given your connection with your father and his service and how he was lost in combat?
Rachel, we have an ethos in the U.S. military, and one of the reasons that the American soldier, Marine, Airman, Sailor, Coast Guardsman will do amazing things is because they trust the chain of command to bring them back, that the chain of command will give the bullets and the food and the leadership they need in order to prosecute the mission. So this dog tag was found by a member of the Joint Task Force Full Accounting Team, the team that goes to former war zones and brings back the remains of our fallen. You can see that it's mangled. What happens to a dog tag in an explosion when the aircraft goes down? Our country, this great country, goes to great lengths to bring back our fallen. And again, the reason that the American soldier does so well is he trusts the chain of command to do just that. Unfortunately, after what we've heard about this particular president, that's a hard sell to every drill sergeant trying to soldierize, trying to build a soldier out of every young man and woman who comes through our doors.
Retired Major General Paul Eaton, sir, it is a real honor to have you with us tonight. I know that, again, you have the choice whether or not to speak publicly on matters like this, and this was a big one. Thank you for helping us understand, and thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for what you do, Rachel.
It's kind of you to say. All right. We've got a lot more coming up here this Friday night. In fact, I'm just going to stay on for 2 hours tonight. I have a lot to say. We'll be right back.